I'm one of the lucky ones. I made a little bit of money. I don't have 50 million to bet with you, but I do have 3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer. $3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. I'm 5 years out the ring. I'm a kickboxer.
Joe Rogan just revealed why Jake Paul, the so-called boxing prodigy, turned down Andrew Tate's massive fight offer. Not only did Jake reject the fight, but he outright kicked the $3 million deal to the curb. So what's going on? Is Jake afraid of losing, or does he only box when the odds are in his favor? Seems like the only thing scripted here is his so-called career. What's the real story behind his avoidance?
If you want to fight and you want to send a contract, send one to me. I will take a few weeks break from living my retired life to kick the living out of a goofy, entitled dickhead like you. You know my name, Andrew Tate. Google it if you want to know more. Any day, any...
Don't worry, I'm breaking down why Jake rejected the fight, including Andrew Tate's savage callouts and how Joe Rogan exposed Jake's play-it-safe strategy. Get ready for a story full of drama, ego, and some hilarious truths you won't want to miss. Buckle up. This one's a wild ride.
As a boxer?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And listen, what Jake Paul has accomplished is he's fighting old guys.
Yes.
He's fighting, all he fights are old guys and whatever. But listen, say what you want, he wins. And he makes money. So he's doing his thing. Yeah.
Go. Work. Come on, come on, fight. Make it. Hey. 20 seconds. Come on, 20 seconds to work, Steve. Let's go. Come on, work. Work. Good. Work. 10 seconds. Work.
Jake Paul claims he's ready to take on all challengers, yet ducks out when a real test appears. Who better to expose him than Joe Rogan and Andrew Tate? If there were a handbook on how to avoid legitimate competition while bragging about being the best, Jake Paul would probably be the author.
Yeah, he'll never do that, though. He knows. He knows way.
One, he's under contract. And
he's
two,
not his own boss.
And two, he won't do it. He knows better. He might
and it's funny to say, like, yo, Conor McGregor is scared of Jake Paul and will never.
When Andrew Tate, former kickboxing champion and professional provocateur, called out Jake Paul, the internet went wild. Tate wasn't playing around. He challenged Jake to a fight with a $3 million bet and an anytime, anywhere ultimatum. But instead of stepping into the ring, Jake hesitated. It wasn't the suspenseful kind of hesitation. It was the awkward kind that made you wonder if he was frantically texting his PR team for an excuse.
Somebody like me, he'd mentioned me before, and there'll be people out there saying, oh, Carl Froch's talking about himself, he's after a payday. Listen, I'm not after a payday. I'm doing all right. There's no problems with my fight.
Then came Jake's brilliant pivot, fighting Mike Tyson, the 57-year-old retired legend who hasn't been in his prime since VHS tapes were still around. In his infinite wisdom, Jake decided that facing Tyson would be a better move than taking on Andrew Tate, a fighter who's not only in peak shape, but also unpredictably dangerous. It was a calculated decision, sure, but it screamed one thing louder than anything else: fear. We all know the fight was scripted, but Jake can't pull off a scripted fight against someone like Andrew Tate.
When you see some of these crossover fights, obviously I know that you and Jake Paul have had your disagreements. Do you think that Jake's gotten better as a boxer?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And listen, what Jake Paul has accomplished is he's fighting old guys.
Yes.
He's fighting, all he fights are old guys and whatever. But listen, say what you want, he wins. And he makes money. So he's doing his thing.
Let's not pretend this is the first time Jake Paul has avoided a fight he couldn't control. His entire boxing career has been a master class in cherry-picking opponents. Former basketball players, retired MMA fighters who've never boxed, check. Now it's Tyson, a retired heavyweight with enough fame to sell tickets, but not enough speed to pose a real threat. It's a pattern so obvious that even Jake's most loyal fans are starting to notice. The script is getting harder to ignore. Joe Rogan didn't hesitate to call Jake Paul out on his podcast, pointing out that Jake's strategy revolves around avoiding anyone who could actually beat him. Rogan highlighted that Jake is fighting old, undersized opponents, summing up what everyone else was already thinking. Jake Paul doesn't want to fight Andrew Tate because Tate is younger, faster, and far more unpredictable than any fighter Jake has faced. Rogan went even further, saying Jake's reluctance to face Tate shows he's more focused on preserving his record than proving himself as a legitimate fighter.
Brothers, one cage. Jake Logan, you Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
Don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. Bro, I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now. I've got Fed agents in my house. Matrix is after me. I'm just trying to live peaceful. But of course, I have absolute faith in myself and my brother, and I know what we've been through, and I know the kind of men.
Now let's talk about Andrew Tate. This isn't some washed-up internet personality looking for a quick payday. Tate is a former kickboxing world champion with a chip on his shoulder and a point to prove. He didn't just challenge Jake Paul, he practically dared him. His $3 million bet wasn't just a publicity stunt, it was a statement. Tate knew Jake wouldn't take the fight, and he wanted to make that fact as public as possible. But Tate didn't stop at the initial call-out. When Jake Paul ghosted him, Tate doubled down, calling Jake out again and pointing out the painfully obvious. Jake's entire career is built on fighting opponents he can script. There's a difference between training and being a fighter, Tate said, throwing one of the most savage truths at Jake's entire existence. Prime fighters destroy hobbyists.
True fighter, legitimate, badass motherfucker, strong mentality. Sorry, Tristan Tate is the weak link.
I say let's
He got a bad shoulder. He's shaped like a gingerbread man. I don't want no beef, but that's delusion.
PFO will set this up.
A MMA double tag team match.
10 million for everybody.
You might have a
Jake's silence after Tate's second challenge was deafening. For someone who never shuts up when it comes to hyping his fights, Jake suddenly had nothing to say. His fans, who had been buzzing about the potential Paul-Tate showdown, were left scratching their heads. If this feels like Jake just got rocked by a verbal 1-2 combo, then slip the jab and smash that subscribe button because this saga is delivering more hits than Jake ever will in a real fight. Let's break it down. Jake Paul chose to fight Mike Tyson instead of Andrew Tate because Tyson was safer. Yes, Tyson is a boxing icon, but let's not ignore the fact that he's 57 years old and well past his prime. Jake knew he could control the narrative in a Tyson fight. He knew it would sell pay-per-views because of Tyson's name, not because it would be a real challenge. We all know that fight was scripted, and most importantly, Jake knew it wouldn't put his carefully curated record at risk.
You lose to an old man who's retired. I live in the real fucking world, Jake. There's a whole bunch of fighters out here who live in the real fucking world. Men who are dangerous and dedicated their lives to this sport and don't have a fucking fraction of the money you have because you managed to become a fucking clown.
Contrast that with Andrew Tate, a fighter in his mid-30s, in top physical condition, with years of combat sports experience. Tate is unpredictable, skilled, and not interested in playing Jake's game. If Jake stepped into the ring with Tate, he wouldn't just risk losing, he'd risk being exposed as the hobbyist Tate has accused him of being.
Keep going. Come on, work. Go. Work. Come on, Marshall. Keep going. Work. Come on, fight. Make it. Come on, 20 seconds to walk, Steve. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Joe Rogan once again didn't hold back when discussing Jake's decision to fight Tyson instead of Tate. Jake Paul doesn't want to fight someone he can't control, Rogan said, cutting through Jake's facade like a hot knife through butter. And he's right. Jake Paul's entire career is built on control. Controlling opponents, controlling the narrative, and controlling the spectacle. Andrew Tate represents the one thing Jake can't control, a real challenge. If Jake thought his fans wouldn't notice his dodge, he was sorely mistaken. Social media exploded with criticism and the backlash was brutal. Fans called him a coward, a fraud, and worse. Even some of Jake's own supporters admitted that his decision to avoid Tate while choosing to fight Mike Tyson was a bad look. The internet never forgets, and this move might just haunt Jake for the rest of his career.
Best boxer on the planet is Jake Paul. Why?
I mean, who's doing it?
I mean, if Mike Tyson says, let's do this, are you down?
100%.
I'm gonna make Mike my girlfriend.
Would you fight Mike Tyson?
Again, no, because he's now old, and I would be an absolutely tragic shame to knock out an old version of his prime self. That doesn't feel fair. Prime Tyson would have ripped me apart in a boxing match, so to beat him when he's past his prime is dishonorable, and I'd feel dirty for doing that. So there's no amount of money on the planet that could convince me to fight.
And let's not forget Tate's fans, who were eager to join the chorus of criticism, flooding Jake's social media with taunts and reminders of his reluctance to face a real fighter. Tate, of course, took full advantage, calling Jake out for being scared and reiterating his challenge. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare, and Jake had no response, further solidifying his hesitation.
Known as a fighter in a way that he never will be. I'm known as a fighter in the way that if you throw me in a cell with a murderer, a rapist, and 2 drug dealers, people look at me and go, okay, respect. He would have left with a higher male body count than his fiance. That's how he would.
Joe Rogan's comments only added fuel to the fire. He didn't just expose Jake's strategy, he completely dismantled it. He's avoiding young competitive opponents, Rogan said, and it's hard to argue with that assessment. Every opponent Jake has faced so far has either been out of their prime, out of their weight class, or out of their depth. Fighting Andrew Tate would have been Jake's chance to silence his critics and prove he's more than just a YouTuber with a decent punch. Instead, he took the easy way out, and Rogan wasn't about to let him off the hook. Jake Paul's decision to reject Andrew Tate's fight offer has done more than damage his reputation.
Would probably be the
It's
author.
exposed the core weakness
Or
in
does
his
he only
entire
step into the
brand.
ring when the odds are conveniently in his favor
Jake
to
has
fight
built his
offer?
career on
Not
the
only did
illusion
Jake
of being
reject
a
the match,
fearless competitor, but this saga has shattered that image. Fans now see him for what he truly is. A businessman more interested in selling fights than proving himself as a legitimate boxer.
Paul can fight. It's not like Jake Paul can't fight.
Yeah.
Jake Paul just won't fight anybody.
Then there's the looming question. Where does Jake go from here? Does he continue dodging real opponents, risking further backlash, or does he finally step up and face someone like Andrew Tate? The longer he avoids fighters like Tate, the more his reputation will suffer. Andrew Tate and Joe Rogan have exposed Jake Paul in a way no opponent ever has. They've revealed the cracks in his armor. Now the whole world is watching. Jake can keep pretending he's the future of boxing, but as long as he avoids real challenges, that narrative will crumble. His empire of hype and half-truths is on shaky ground, and unless he changes course, it's only a matter of time before it collapses entirely.